Okay, here we go. Admit all. Admit all. There we go. There's everybody. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Admit all. Can everybody hear okay?
Yes.
Super, super, super. Wonderful. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to Zenful Conversations. This is our first one this year. We haven't had one this year, so thanks so much for joining. For information on future guest speakers and our many Zoom offerings, please visit zenfulconversations.com. My name is Jen Brown. I'm your host, and we're here today with our guest speaker, Kristin Lang. Kristin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me give you a little bit of information about Kristin. Kristin Lang creative. Kristin Lang creative, mentor, muse, and guide. Kristin creates a safe and sacred space for women to be seen, heard, and held. She offers one-on-one coaching, classes, and private groups. Dream groups are a place where women explore the potential of our night dreams in a small group setting. The focus is on learning how to remember, record, and understand your dreams, symbols, and archetypes. You'll learn how group projective dream work can help you see and understand your dreams in a way you may not have been able to see yourself. You learn how to offer insights in a way that feels supportive, explorative, and most helpful to the dreamer, and understand the positive side of that nightmares can sometimes bring. Kristin's been a dream worker for the past 30 years. She says dreams are one of the most fun and exciting things to talk about. Dreams hold so much potential, and the possibilities are literally endless. Kristin, thanks again. Thanks again for being here today with us.
Thank you. Yeah. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for showing up. I'm excited to, talk about this subject that is just one of my passions. And I hope that after this, that you're also inspired to maybe learn a little bit more about dreams, or dig a little bit more into dreams, or maybe consider sharing your dreams in a small group. So I'll just let you know, I started dreams. Really, how I got into dream work was when I was in my, I would say, late teen years and the beginning of my 20s. I had recurring nightmares. And when I was in California, I lived in California at the time, I came across somebody who was a dream work teacher. And I thought, I want to learn about this and see what's going on with these nightmares. And that was sort of the beginning of, this long journey I've had of recording my dreams pretty much for the most part since my early 20s. And I'll have you know, my nightmare did transform after learning how to do this work. So that was really cool to be able to witness as well. So I've had a couple of really amazing teachers along the way. And I've facilitated a dream group in my local community that went for 3 years straight until COVID hit. And then we kind of disbanded. And now I'm offering some dream groups online for the first time. So I feel like the dreams hold so much potential for us. And I think it's an underutilized tool, like a spiritual tool we have, and it's a free resource that we can access. So, we all sleep a lot. I think, it's like when it breaks down, it's like a third of our life we spend in sleep. So why not be able to learn how to utilize that time, right, in a way that is not only something we can learn about or benefit from, but it's fun. I mean, and I know that nightmares are, this comes up a lot, that a lot of people can be hesitant to get into dream work or share their dreams. But we all have nightmares, and nightmares are part of the deal. And so I'll talk a little bit about that later. But so that's part of the reason why I just think it's worthwhile. And, a lot of people don't know, but there are many examples of inventions and things throughout history that we don't realize have come from dreams. And one of those is the sewing machine. So the guy who invented the sewing machine got that directly from a dream. He figured out how to actually make the needle with a hole on the end because he had a dream about indigenous, group of people coming to kill him with spears. And that's what sparked this idea. The spear had a hole on the end. And I know that Einstein had dreams that directly were related to some of his work. And even Salvador Dali, one of his paintings directly from a dream. So, and there's lots more examples.
Wow.
And even through ancient history, I mean, dreams, one of my teachers said, which I thought was so cool, is that dreams are one of the oldest spiritual conversations that we have ever had. And if you think back to some of these old, like ancient Greece and Mesopotamia, people then had dream temples and dream oracles where they actually valued the dream enough that people would travel to do ceremony and come to these temples to seek advice from dream oracles. So there's a lot of power there.
That's
And
really cool. Yeah, that's what was my question was, my interest is in the dreams and our intuition, how they relate to our intuition, or is this guidance? Is it what is it?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Really one way to look at dreams is that, the dream content is largely, it's coming from our own unconscious. And so you can kind of think of dreams as we're having a conversation with ourselves. Really, it's like a window into, our soul and what's happening. And so when we're willing to look, it's like us informing ourselves, right, of things that are important, health concerns, all kinds of information can come through dreaming.
That's beautiful. Actually, it's a really good tool. Sounds like right up our alley. There's a lot of ladies on here tonight, so let me just ask right away, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Do they have them already in their pocket ready to go? Anybody yet? Okay. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Open up the mic and go for it. Just unmute yourself and go ahead. All right, Kimberly.
Hi there. I am so interested. Is it me, Kimberly?
It is Kim. Yep.
Okay. I have a few questions that are, I don't know, kind of weird. But my first question is, what about dream catchers?
Yeah, things like dream catchers, I think, are great. I think any tools that we have to help us be in the mindset of, that dreams are important to us, that we actually want our dreams to come, that we want to work with them, I think they're great to use. Some people do other things like work with messages under their pillows or little, crystals or things to help them remember in the nighttime. There's, I could talk more about like nighttime practices, but yeah.
Okay. My other question is, I've had dreams before where I've heard voices of loved ones. And is that a visitation or is that a dream?
Yeah, good question. I wouldn't be able to say for sure in your experience, but I know for many people, and it has also been my experience, that visitations happen really frequently with our loved ones who've crossed over. It's very common to get that kind of reassuring dream or them to yeah, and I've had that experience too. And for me, there's always like when I wake up from a dream like that, it always just feels a little extra special. Like there's just a feeling that comes with it, almost a knowing. And to me, those are visitations. Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
you
then
can't really say which that was for you, but
No.
You get to pick then, right?
Right.
You get to choose.
And then I have a question
Okay.
about if you have pregnancy dreams, if you have dreams that you're naked, if you have dreams that people are dying that don't actually die. What's all that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just say this, there are many levels and many layers to dreaming, but for the most part, our dreams speak to us in the language of symbols, of metaphor, of archetype, of synchronicity. So just because we have a dream that somebody dies doesn't mean that that's what's happening. It often is, it's symbolic. So that is a language of dreams. And a lot of people, we want to take them literally often, but most of the time that's not what's happening. And that's part of learning how to work with your dream. You know, what is this representing? What does death mean to me? What does it represent?
Awesome.
Okay.
Great
That's it for
questions,
me.
Kim. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Wonderful questions. Michelle.
Yes, so I'm going to be turning 60, and as a child, I dreamt a lot, and throughout my entire life, I've been a very big dreamer, and I was so super excited. I had this on my calendar, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to listen to this. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I think I always normally remember my dreams. I do have a very strong intuition, and I think sometimes I've in the past have had dreams that have come true in some respect, and a lot of unsettling dreams that takes me 2 or 3 hours to get myself back to like being normal for the day. And I guess my question is, sometimes I dream so crazily that I think, oh my gosh, am I really crazy? And I wake up and think, wow, where did that come from? And they're just so off the wall. And a lot of times I have tried to figure out, certain ways of, I see why that happened. I talked to that person, that type of thing. And I guess it's hard for me to not figure them out. So I guess my question is, how do you document? Do you like symbolic type things? I guess I need to learn more about them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could go over some of the basic tips I would have to, if you wanted to have more of a committed sort of dream practice to try to understand your dreams. So one of the things, I mean, the very first thing is, deciding that dreams that they're important and that you want them. And I think there's that step of just sort of making that commitment and saying it out loud, just reinforces it, right? And it helps wire our brain for it, right? If we're saying out loud, I want to remember my dream during the day, before bed, trying when you wake up to remember, okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to remember my dream. The second thing would be to definitely have some kind of way you're going to record it. So the easiest thing is a pad of paper and a pencil right next to your bed. And some people, if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's a little hard. You don't want to turn your light on and fully wake up. You could have a little flashlight. Some people even buy pens with a flashlight on the tip. And some people just want to record them like into a phone or a recording device. But that is the very best way. It's like building a new muscle and developing this relationship with our dreaming world. And so the more we get into the habit of it, the more dreams we'll have, the more dreams we'll remember. And and I would just say what I do, and I think what a lot of people do is, when you first wake up, one of the ways that I have found because dreams are very fleeting, often they go like it's a wisp, and they're hard to catch. And so one of the ways I have found to hang on to them when those first images come is to remain still, to even try not to open your eyes. For me, as soon as we start shifting and moving, it's like we activate different parts of our brain, and then it's easier for the dreams to just go away. But if you remain still, remember your intention, and as soon as, even if it's just a word or a fragment or an image, then write it down. Just write a couple of key words, and later you can go back, and usually just writing one sentence or a few key words will trigger the whole dream later. And then you can write it down in detail. And at that point, when you're ready to really record like as much of the dream as you can, write it in the first person as if it's happening, and don't leave anything out. Don't try to figure it out and interpret it. Just write. And then later you can go back and start to, pick it apart, look at the symbols. And the thing I'll just say about symbols is, there's a lot of books out there that tell us what dream images and dream symbols mean. And I tend to not use them. And I tend to tell people I don't recommend that you use those at first, because if I dream of a snake, the snake might mean something very specific to me, and it might be different to you. So we all kind of have our own symbols and associations with certain things, and you can almost create your own book of symbols, right? And meanings. So, and that will help you as you start to try to decipher and question and get curious, why is this dream coming to me right now? Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mostly always remember my dreams. And I have a lot of friends that don't dream. And so I feel sort of like, I feel bad that they don't dream because I have continuous dreams. And I guess, and obviously I'll probably be in one of your groups, so I can get a little more detailed. So I don't want to take up everybody's time. So I'll probably think of something later.
No, I think that's awesome, Michelle. It sounds like there's a very healthy activity going on there. Is not Kristin? Do you feel like that too? Because she has so many dreams and she remembers them so much, and very active, very active.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like you are an active dreamer, and you have been. So it's really wired in you to remember. And the thing I'll just say is that we all dream. It's just a matter of whether we remember or not. And so people who don't feel like they don't dream, or really have never remembered a dream, I have seen it happen many times, that when you commit and you do these simple things and you do them regularly, it doesn't take long. Within a week, sometimes days, a dream will come and you'll start remembering.
Awesome.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask at the moment? Maria? No?
I have.
Laura does. Go ahead.
I was just curious as to whether or not you have heard of techniques that some people advocate to try to communicate with others in their dream, like try to make an intention before you go to sleep. If you don't get along with somebody, for instance, and try to say to yourself, in my dreams, I want to communicate to this person and either persuade them or dissuade them. Have you heard of that, or is that totally off the wall, totally something new?
Nothing is off the wall. There's many possibilities, and there's many ways to work with your dreams. So, kind of, I think what you're talking about, one technique is called dream incubation. And so it might be a little bit different than what you're talking about, but it's the idea that when you go to sleep, you can either ask a question. So you have something on your mind, you're wanting an answer to something, and it may say, maybe it's about a relationship. You want, how's the best way for me to handle this, for example? You can go to sleep with that intention. You can even write your intention on a piece of paper and put it under your pillow. And in the morning, you're trying to seek, what guidance came from your dreams. So it's similar. You can create all kinds of intentions. I worked with somebody where I did a whole course with this really cool man, Ian Wilson, and we trained ourselves to have very specific kinds of dreams, dream genres. So even, 1 week it would be working on sensory information. So I would, intend that I want to feel the sun and feel the wind in my dreams and things like that. So it sounds like you're working in a relationship, aspect, and you can certainly ask for guidance for sure from your dream.
All right.
Wow. So you could train your dreams? You're saying we can train our dreams?
Yeah, this particular teacher that I worked with really was teaching people. He has this website called Dreaming for Gamers, and his thing was gaming. And so people would train themselves to actually dream in specific genres, like
That's
gaming.
so
And
interesting.
yeah, and I'm not a gamer, but we did, work and try to, if you think of it, what we take in during the day, whether it's through media, through visually, through conversations, and all of our past history, those are all elements that play out through our dreams. So it's really like, yeah, it's fascinating. We can actually train our dreams. So for example, I don't often have dreams where I read clearly, and I wanted to try to experience what it would be like to read in a dream. And so I would practice it. So part of what this is practicing it through the day, right? Trying to wire it in and having that intention of maybe a few times during the day or the week. And sure enough, it started to happen in the dream. So it was really fun.
That is fascinating. So yeah, because everything that happens is recorded by our subconscious. And there is the last year, ladies, most of these ladies are in part of my other group. We talked about the law of attraction and how you would think about things the night before, so your subconscious mind could work on it overnight, and we would wake up with that much ahead of the game, let's just say. So that's really part of it. Then your whole that's so interesting. Yes, I'm interested in this group idea as well. Fascinating. Great great question, Lourdes. Did that answer that for you?
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Maria.
I was just going to say that they asked the questions I was going to ask. So I'm all set. I'm all set.
Yeah, I think because there was some questions sent in from people that did not make it, and I think we've answered some of those as well. Okay, well, thanks, Maria. Anything at all, just go ahead and pop on if you decide to say anything else. Thanks for being here. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask at the moment? All right, well, let me see. There's a few questions that were submitted from people that weren't able to attend, and they will watch the replay link and be able to get their answer here. So at what point does a dream become a nightmare? Is one of the questions.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think that really depends on the dreamer, because generally what we think of a nightmare is something that is not comfortable, something that's scary or quite disturbing, and that may even wake us out of our sleep. But what might be a nightmare to me might not be to somebody else, right? And so that really is, I think, would be dependent on the person. But I'll say this, since we're on the subject of nightmares, because it does come up a lot, and I feel as though many people I've talked to, they're hesitant to work with their dreams because of nightmares. And some of us are plagued with really horrific nightmares that can last for years. And in my experience, when we learn how to work with the dreams, we can actually turn to these scary figures or scary symbols that show up in our dream, and we can get courage in our dream to actually turn and face these characters and inquire of them. Why are you here? What are you here to show me? Because we have to remember it's symbolic, it's metaphoric. A lot of times these are archetypal images, and dreams, I really believe that our dreams do come in the service of health and wholeness, even the scary ones. And so usually what I've learned is that our subconscious when it's trying to poke at us and say, hey, you need to pay attention to something, and we ignore it and we ignore it, it turns the volume up. And often that will come in the form of a nightmare to get our attention. You know, there's something here maybe that you need to pay attention to. And when I've done that in my dream, it has changed. The figures change. They go from scary to really sweet. You know, they want to be acknowledged, and is a very, very powerful practice to be able to face your nightmare and get some information.
It's pretty interesting to realize that you can direct the dream a little bit. I can't say for me, I really don't, I'm one of those people that don't really remember my dreams. I'm aware that we supposedly have them multiple throughout the night, but I don't really remember them. Very infrequently do I remember them, but I will wake up with a full plan for my next workshop or something like that. I'm like thinking I'm working all night long. I come up, okay, perfect. This is exactly what I'm going to be doing, you know? So I get visions, but I'm just loving this whole idea. That's great. Let me go on to a couple more. How much does your daily events play a role in your dreams? Is another question.
So, you know, our daily events and all the things we are taking, you know, participating in, taking in, like I said before, they do, they play out in our dreams, right? That you might get a dream, and often dreams never make sense. They never seem to make sense. You know, you'll go from, you know, riding on a train to, like, you know, being in a shop buying food to, you know, it switches. But if you start to pay attention, you can parse out those pieces that, like, oh, right, I had a conversation about this the other day, and there I see that part showed up. And when you can start to parse out our day-to-day stuff that's just filtering through, then you can kind of get to more of the meat of the unconscious stuff that's trying to come through, if that makes sense.
Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Just a couple more. Let's see. Do you tend to dream more when you are tired or well rested?
You know, I think when we have better sleep, we have a better chance of going through the proper sleep cycles and in those deep restful places to have proper dreaming. That's not to say people who wake up throughout the night aren't dreaming and aren't remembering, because they also do. But this just reminds me of something I wanted to mention. I think that having a good bedtime ritual is a good setup for better chance of remembering our dream. And so, you know, I notice for me that often when I go to bed and I'm just so busy right up until I climb in bed and my head hits that pillow and I just fall asleep, I tend to forget my intentions. I forget to repeat, you know, I want to remember my dream, and just reinforce that to myself. So even taking 5 minutes, or, you know, however many minutes before bed to kind of get settled, you know, turn your screens off, create a good environment for your sleep. And then, like I said, remind yourself that you want to dream, that you want to remember. Make sure you've got a recording device. You're going to have a lot better chance of remembering that dream in the morning.
Boy, isn't that the truth right there? Us taking that sacred pause to just breathe for a minute and remembering what we're here for. I've heard that you dream every night, but I don't remember anything why. And that was one of them, and me too. Maybe because we're not really sleeping. We're not letting ourselves get to that dream state.
Yeah. And, you know, also just maybe ask yourself the question, how much are you actually thinking about it? Because when you shine your light, that light of awareness on dreaming, and you do it habitually and you make it a practice, before long, those dreams start coming.
I've noticed that. But whatever it is we practice, wherever we put our energy to,
Exactly.
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And what I really love about it is there's no right or wrong way to practice. You know, so it's a beautiful thing. Anybody can do it. You know, I literally like that. One more question on those questions from the from people that sent in. Repressed feelings, do they come up in dreams?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think all kinds of things can come up in our dreams. Yeah. Past
Yeah.
traumas, feelings, things that our psyche maybe wants to, help us work through.
Right. Yep, for sure. For sure. So anybody else have any questions? And go ahead, Maria.
I have one I thought of. What about when you were walking in your sleep or talking in your sleep? Is that just a manifestation of the dream? Because you'll be dreaming something and you actually physically are doing it,
Yeah. Some people do have that experience. It's interesting. I don't have experience with that myself. I've never done that to my knowledge. But yeah, some people, so will get up and they'll be still in that dream state, but moving around.
Mhm.
And, I'll just mention something because this does come up for people. There is something called sleep paralysis. And what that is so when we go to sleep and we're on that verge, that liminal space in between wake and sleep, there's something that happens where our body actually goes into paralysis. We're just generally not aware of it because most of us aren't staying conscious and aware that long. We fall asleep, our consciousness. But our body goes into paralysis to protect us during the night. So that for that exact reason, when we're flailing and kicking and we don't want to be, our body doesn't need to be acting that out. So our body goes into like a mini paralysis. And sometimes what happens is people are awake and aware during that phase. And that can feel like a very scary thing because it's not typical, it's not usual. And so if you just become aware of it, that this can happen, you can either break out of it, or some people actually use that time knowing it's just a natural part of the sleep cycle. They actually can use that time to go into a lucid dream, which is being fully awake and aware in your dream. And so I just wanted to mention that because sleepwalking and night terrors and those kinds of things and sleep paralysis can be something that people are really quite afraid of. But if we learn, like, again, if we just learn a little bit about it and learn how to work with it, we can use it to our advantage.
Right. So the lucid dreaming, are you familiar with yoga nidra?
Yes.
So what would be the difference there? Do you know?
Well, I know that, so in yoga nidra and the Tibetan dream yoga practices, it is, some people with dreaming, they use that practice to basically be fully awake and conscious through the entire phase of the sleep cycle, right into your dreaming, so that your body falls asleep, but your mind stays awake. And therefore you just would enter right into a lucid dream where you're fully awake and aware that you're dreaming and you have full consciousness in your dream. I think the yoga nidra practice, from what I know, is training deep conscious relaxation and awareness, but some people do marry that into dream work.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check into the lucid dreaming a little bit more. We are familiar with yoga nidra, and we astral travel even, but the lucid dreaming, I want to check in a little bit more. Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely gonna do the group with you. Did that answer your question, Maria?
Yeah. My husband he's often says that and I've never done this, but he'll say he's dreaming and he'll consciously know that he's dreaming and say, oh, this is just a dream, and get out of it, where I've never consciously been aware that I'm dreaming, but it's like he's in the dream saying, oh, this is a dream, this isn't real, and he'll get out of it. So he's much more, does that mean he's much more aware or conscious or intuitive?
Yeah, you know what I would say about, so lucid dreaming, some dream practitioners will say that to be in a true lucid dream, you have to have the awareness that you fully wake up in your dream and you're aware you're dreaming. But what I think of more is that there are varying states of awareness and varying states of lucidity. So sometimes we have a little bit more than a regular awareness. And sometimes we have like level 10 or beyond level of awareness where we can have full power. We can do whatever we want. We can make it rain. We can make all kinds of things happen in our dream. And they're all just varying degrees of awareness. And that's something that we can learn. Yeah, we can all learn how to do that.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Yeah, I remember Maria, one time, remember he did a session
Yeah.
with us and he had a unique experience as well.
Mhm. Yep, he did.
Yeah.
That's another example. Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Interesting.
Fascinating. Thanks so much for sharing. That's really cool.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Can,
Go ahead. You got to unmute. There
I'm
you
on
go.
there. Going back to
Hey,
the nightmares.
Oh, just okay. We'll come back to Michelle. We'll come right back to you. I think it's Wendy, right?
yes,
Okay, go ahead, Wendy, and then we'll come right back to you, Michelle.
No
I was
worries.
just wondering in relation to what you were just talking about. I've had several reoccurring dreams that happened many, many years ago, but I recognize that they were a reoccurring dream. And I can still remember them to this day.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, is that kind of a lucid dream where you have that memory of something that a dream that reoccurs and has the same theme to it, even though it's a different dream? And it's a reoccurring dream because of that. But I hold on to the memory of it and I can actually go back and tell you about that dream.
So are you having the memory of your dream inside your dream while you're dreaming?
No, it would be on a different night, but I would
When
have
you're
it.
yeah, in your waking state. Yeah,
Right.
I'm not sure if that would fall into the lucid category, but I mean that's just a whole different aspect of dreaming that can happen with recurring dreams and remembering dreams. And like I was just mentioning, there's even dream deja vu, where you can be inside your dream and have enough awareness that you've had this dream before. So there are so many, that's what I say, there's so many different things that can happen with dreaming. That's why I get so excited, because there's a lot of potential.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be a 4-hour conversation for sure.
It sure could.
And some of
Wow.
those
Yeah,
dreams,
it made me think. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I just wanted to say, I think it was Wendy. Yeah, that there are those dreams that really stay with us for years. There's something, and I would say those dreams are worth, examining maybe a little bit more deeply. Why they're so special, or they stand out for us. Like I have dreams like that too, where I can just remember every detail, and they feel just more potent. And sometimes I wonder, maybe there's something still there that we can glean from it.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy cool.
Thank you.
Crazy cool. Yeah, thanks a lot, Wendy. Michelle, please.
Just to go back on the nightmares, I guess a couple times a week I have very unsettling dreams, and I don't really call them nightmares because I think of a nightmare as like nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, or that's a nightmare. Or being pregnant at 60, that's a nightmare. But I'm curious because you mentioned something earlier about what wakes you up, because I'll get woken up and my heart is just pounding, and I lay there and I calm myself down and try to just be really, really calm because it is so unsettling. So I'm always curious of what woke me up in that particular unsettling dream. Is that my consciousness saying I got to get out of this dream?
Yeah, good question. It could be. And I'm not 100% sure about this, but what's coming to my mind is, we're so interwired still with our physiology, because so you might be having a racing heart in your body when you're being chased by that tiger or whatever it is. And sometimes those sensations, those physiological things, can also be what partly wakes and stirs our body up. And sometimes our psyche just wants to get out, like you said, get me out of here. I've certainly had that happen as well.
And I think that's probably a good thing, because when you wake up and you're so unsettled, I'm glad I don't go back into it, because I do go back. I'll dream sometimes 3 times a night. So I do go back into a dream, but it's not the one that's woke me up.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. So, what you just said, most people will dream up to 5, 6 times a night, separate dreams. But there is an opportunity if you're waking up, and even though you maybe don't want to go back into the dream, there is a possibility to re-enter the same dream. And like we were saying before, do that practice of trying to work with the nightmare, to ask it, and I have had that experience. And I actually shared a dream that was written in a book by a woman, Dr. Claire Johnson, has a great book on nightmares. And one of my nightmares, a transformative nightmare, is in that book, along with many others. But that was the first time I learned how to face that fear that was in my dream. And then I watched it change, and I never had that dream come back. So there's a potential there if you're up for it.
I'm joining the group, I can tell you that.
Good.
Yeah. Wow. 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 I knew this would be an interesting conversation. I certainly knew it would be, but I didn't expect it to blow my mind. This
Well,
is fun
we're
stuff.
talking about, quite a lot. And I would bring it sort of back to basics, for people out there who are already big dreamers, or remember your dreams, or recording your dreams, and even working with your dreams. That's great. But for most of us, we're probably starting at the beginning. And so I would just really reiterate, if you're interested, commit to it. Try to remind yourself throughout the day that this is something that you're interested in doing. Remind yourself before you go to bed. Have a pen and paper, whatever you want to record on, and be patient. Practice for a couple of weeks. We'll forget. So try again the next day, and be patient, and write down, even if you feel like it's nothing. If it's just a color or a feeling or one image, write it down still. And the next day, something more might come. And sometimes, if you just had a fleeting image, you might remember more during the daytime, for example. And so I would just start with that basic practice of really trying to catch them first. And then, learning how to work with them. There are many, like I was saying, I think in the beginning, there are many levels and layers of dreaming, but there's also many, many different ways to work with dreams. And so what I'm doing, and what I kind of came to talk about, and what I'll do with my dream group, is teach people the value of sharing your dream with other people. Because the truth is, they're quite hard to figure out once you have them, what the heck they're trying to say to you and what you can get from it. They're not easy. We're kind of blind to our own stuff, right? Our own subconscious material. And so you kind of have a dream and you go like, what the heck? I don't know what any of this means. And so when we come together in a group, it's called group projective dream work, because what we end up doing is a dreamer will come with a dream and they'll share their dream. And what we do as the group to help the dreamer try to gain some insight is we project onto that person's dream by saying, if this were my dream, so that we kind of own it as, now that dream's been out, it's put out into the field. Now it's going through my imagination. So if really it was my dream, the elevator going here, and this is what happens and how it feels to me. This is what this symbol means to me, or I'd be curious about this. And as we do that in a group, it often will spark an aha in the dreamer or something they hadn't thought about. And so that's why doing group work is helpful, because it can be hard to work on your own in dreams. And amazing things happen when we start sharing our dream in a safe, trusted small group like that. And so I kind of just wanted to bring that around, this is mainly the kind of work that I'm doing with the dreams.
Yeah. Well, even well, I mean, we've done book groups, which is nothing like dream groups, but or perception on what we read or something like that gets shared, and then it is when it's a small group of women, it really is just a dynamic space to start with, when it's a safe space. And I liked your introduction. Back to your introduction, you create safe and sacred space for women to be seen, heard, and held. And I would say that is something I would say about myself. So I love that about you. Let me just ask, are there any final questions from anybody before we let this lovely lady go?
I have one more quick
Mhm.
one. So
Sure.
when you dream and you wake up the next morning and your dream is in, say you read a book and you pick up your book the next morning and you're part of that dream that you've dreamt is in the book. Or say it's on the news, because that has happened to me for years. Some little part would be like, it's on the news, and I actually dreamt it in the middle of the night. So what is that about?
Yeah, I mean, that really kind of connects back to the intuitive part of how dreams connect us to our intuition. And that would fall in the realm of like a precognitive dream. So sometimes we have, that pre-knowing, like the phone rings, who it's going to be, right? That happens to a lot of us. So the dreams can happen that way as well. You'll dream something and then it shows up in your day. It's wild. And I love it. And there's a lot of also just synchronicity that happens. And sometimes you just can't explain it. It's like, oh, I just dreamt this. Or, sometimes people share dreams and they, people who are very close have the same exact dreams. Like, that's why I get so excited about this, because it's really wild. It's really cool. And it's really fun.
Well, it's true, because we are intuitive beings. We really are. And I mean, this has really opened my eyes, this conversation. I really appreciate you coming. Michelle, thank you again for sharing and for asking your questions. Anybody else? We're okay to ask. We're okay to ask. All right, we're good. Kristin, is there anything else that you'd like to say in closing here?
Let me just think. I think I've, I think I've hit all the main things I wanted to talk about. And I mean, my hope was that this might just spark some interest for people to be inspired to try to practice remembering their dream. And then, if that gets going for you, then maybe reach out for guidance on how, what do I do with these? And I think the one thing that we didn't touch on, but I'll just say, is that there's an immense opportunity for creativity through dreaming. I mean, people have written fiction and novels based on their dreams. Lots of people have done that. And artwork that comes from dreams, and just inspired creative ideas. And if you get really good and aware in your dreams, you can ask for those things to come into your dreams. And so I think that's another really cool aspect of dreaming.
I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Awesome. Thank you again, Kristin. I knew it would be wonderful, and it definitely was. Kristin's website is kristinlang.ca, kristinlang.ca. You can also I noticed you could set up a 20-minute complimentary call. You can also find her on Facebook at facebook.com/Kristin Lang Creative. And Kristin also offers coaching through menopause, intuitive painting, and more. She's really geared towards a whole wellness. And the dreaming is part of that, getting to, and I think it's about our relationship with ourselves, which it's been a long time coming, our conversation here. We've been talking for some time, you and I, about getting together. So I really appreciate that. Do check her out. The information will be sent in the email, the follow-up email tomorrow, along with the replay link. And Kristin will have a special offer for us, right?
Yeah, I wanted to say if anybody on this call or who listens to the recording is interested, I will set up, I'd like to set up a dream group to start in April to run for 4 weeks. I think I said it was for $40. And if I had, I would have to have, I would say 4 people minimum to make it go, and a maximum of 8, because any more than that, then there's not enough time for enough sharing. So I do try to keep them ideally 7. So yeah, that would be great. I'll
Yeah.
put that offer out to anybody who wants it.
Well, let's clarify, it's not to anybody. Here's this replay, because this replay will be going on YouTube and everywhere else. This is for all the registrants. So
Sorry,
anybody
that's
that signed up for this conversation. So anybody here or that receives the replay link.
Thank you.
So that, yeah, because this will be going out and on podcasts and everything. But I will say that I'm already interested because I know that $40 is a very special offer. That's not your normal price. And I appreciate that. So I'll send out that replay link to everybody tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow afternoon. And let me know if you want to pull it together, and we'll get, or just mention this conversation when you connect with Kristin, and she'll be able to tell where we're all from. If we can get 4, we're good. So I'm 1. So
I'm in.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, if you just contact me through my website, or my emails on there, just let me know you were on this call, and then I'll get more information, and we'll set a group up.
Okay, great.
Sounds wonderful. Yes, and I'll send that out tomorrow along with all her contact information, so you'll be able to do that. Any final questions or anything before we go, ladies? Thank you again. First of all, Kristin, in gratitude, and thank you so much for sharing and everything. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for supporting these conversations. Thanks for your awesome questions. You guys are fantastic, and I just love you so much. In gratitude. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.